Welcome to For the Love of Books, a podcast by CultureNL Libraries.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the CultureNL Libraries podcast For the Love of Books. My name is Chris Wilson, the E-Services Librarian, and today I thought I would come and chat to you about our reading challenge that we've been doing recently, Read Well NL. It's just about to finish soon, and you might be wondering why we would talk about it now that it's almost at the end point, but it's really to explain why we do it and why it's important and why you don't actually have to finish just because the challenge is finished. So that is where we're going to go with it. So what is Read Well NL? Read Well NL was a reading challenge aimed at adults, and the challenge aims you puts you on the spot to try and do some regular reading on a daily basis. Challenges don't need to be just for children. I'm pretty sure you all know all about our summer reading challenge, which is a yearly event that we do with the kids during the summer. But we do have a few challenges that we do throughout the year over the last few years that are aimed at adults, and Read Well NL was our latest one, which we started last year. The aims of it, as I said, is to try and encourage people to read regularly and basically start to build the habit of reading regularly and give you all the benefits that comes with that, from just the kind of relaxation and also the kind of benefits of health and well-being too. It also does help us build on other promotions that the library service run as well. It gives us the opportunity to kind of get people involved in reading, and hopefully that means they can engage throughout the rest of the year in events such as World Book Night, Book Week Scotland, Libraries Week, things like that sort of stuff. So that's the kind of main aims behind it. And it was running from Monday the 15th of February to Sunday the 28th of March, and launched just at the end of Love Life, Love Libraries, because it is all about reading and reading for pleasure and the benefits, the health benefits from that. So that's why we chose the kind of roughly about the time of Love Life, Love Libraries, which is our Health and Wellbeing Week, to push this out to you guys. So why do we think it's important? So regular reading is important and it's been proven to reduce stress and benefit well-being, and that's the kind of main parts behind the project. And the challenge aims you to read for at least 6 minutes per day. And the reason for the 6 minutes is that seems to be the minimum time that it takes to for those benefits to start to kick in. And we also thought that it was important to make it inclusive as possible for everyone. So it isn't just restricted to books. It was about reading for pleasure. So you could be reading books, reading sort of online articles, reading any sort of thing you can get your hands on. And also with BorrowBox, you can also use e-audiobooks as well. So there's lots of different aspects that you can kind of use to get involved with Read Well NL too. At this point, I'm going to let you hear why one of the people who signed up this year signed up for it and what she thought of it as well. So at this point, I'd like to kind of introduce Michelle to let you hear what she thought.
So last year was the first year that I did the 6 minute a day challenge. And it was to try and ensure that even on the days where I felt really, really busy, work was an overload, kids were busy, that I was still taking that 6 minutes out the day. And rarely was it ever the 6 minutes. It tended to be at least the 10 minutes before my eyes started drooping. But the good thing about it is I think it has set me up to have that daily habit of making sure I'm reading a little bit. Like I say, it's really just the 6 minutes, and I try and take my book. I carry it around the house with me so that if there ever is a wee 5 minutes when the kids are busy, I can stick my nose in a book as such. So this year, although I have joined the challenge, it was less of a challenge this year because I think last year it set up my habits. There's been a couple of occasions where I've not managed to read much. It's maybe been a poem and an article in a magazine, but I think I've thoroughly enjoyed doing the challenge both years. Thanks.
So thank you, Michelle, for letting us have that little clip on why you signed up for the challenge and your experiences of it. I think it's a perfect little example of the real benefits that you can get from using the challenge and getting into that way of creating a habit and making it something that you do on a regular basis. As Michelle pointed out, that she had taken part in last year's challenge too, and she found this year's challenge much easier because she was already in the habit of having regular reading in her life. So thank you, Michelle, for including that. What about myself? I did try and take part in the challenge this year, and on first thought, I had to admit, I thought that I kind of failed a little bit this year in terms of trying to make sure that I read every day for at least 6 minutes. However, after I started to think about it, I did kind of start to think that actually I did read for 6 minutes every day, and it's sometimes because you don't think about it as personal reading or kind of reading for pleasure all the time. But the way I definitely managed to kind of hit that target every single day was by reading books with my son, and by sharing books with him. I definitely hit the 6 minute challenge every day, because every night we read stories to him, and that definitely takes up the 6 minutes. And then on top of that, obviously I do have times where I have read books myself for pleasure too. So without doubt, I definitely managed to hit it, and so I think it's a big gold star for myself, and it sounds like Michelle managed to complete it, or has done well so far too, so she'll hopefully complete it too. And that 6 minutes per day also means that if you are sharing it with a kid, that kid's also benefiting from that too, so they're also passing the challenges as well. So what have I been reading for the challenge? I have, and as I've probably mentioned in the podcast previously, I am a bit of a slow reader, so in the 6 weeks I haven't managed to read like 20 novels, right? It's just not going to have happened. But what I did do was I do follow the Facebook book group that we run, and from that I've been following the suggested reads for there. So the first book that I was involved in reading for Readwell NL this year was The Last Family in England by Matt Haig, and I really enjoyed that book. It was really quite an interesting book to read. It might sound a bit bizarre to some people because it is written by the perspective of the dog in the family, a Labrador, and it's kind of a battle between all the breeds of dogs, and Labrador kind of think they're above all the rest of them, and think that they're kind of the last ones kind of remaining loyal to their masters and things like that sort of stuff. And the Labrador's job is to try and keep the family together and keep them safe and things like that. And you find out as the story goes on that it becomes very challenging for the Labrador in the story. It's very unique and it's very worth a read. It is available on Boardwalks, so if it is something that does sound like a little bit quirky but is definitely your thing, I would definitely recommend you have a wee look at it and see what you think of it. On top of that, the latest read, which I've not finished yet, so I'm not sure the outcome of it just yet, is the latest of our suggested reads, which is City of Friends by Joanna Trollope. And it's definitely hooking me in. It was a bit of a slow starter for me, and I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy it so much, but definitely as I'm getting further and further into it, I am enjoying it more. It's basically kind of set around a group of friends, kind of a group of female friends, and they all have quite good careers. One of them unfortunately gets the sack near the start of the story, and that kind of is the kind of catalyst for various kind of wee offshoots of the story and how that affects all the friendships and things like that. So that's where that book's going, and it's definitely got an interest for me. And again, it is available on Boardwalks at this point in time, so you can have a wee look at that if you do think it's interesting. And if you think that the suggested reads for the book groups sound like your thing, you could continue your reading for pleasure, which you can find by searching on Facebook for CultureNL Library's book group, and you can join it from there. So that's pretty much all we were going to have a wee chat about today. But what I would say is that because the challenge is finished, it doesn't mean that you have to stop your regular reading, because what we are aiming to try and do with this challenge is to try and embed that habit in our members and get them into the habit of regular reading, and so they can fully enjoy the benefits of both the pleasure of reading and also the well-being effects that you also get from reading for pleasure too on a regular basis. So the challenge may be ending shortly, but we would encourage everybody to read on as regularly as possible, and I hope you enjoyed your reading from that. And you can, as I say, you can enjoy any form of reading, whether it's ebooks, whether it's physical books, whether it's e-audio books, or even just articles online and things like that sort of stuff as well. There is plenty of ways how to get in the habit of reading regularly and enjoying all the benefits from that too. And also, as I said earlier, sharing a book with a child can also be a great way how to get a little bit of reading done as well over the time. So that's all from me for now, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. As you may have heard, the libraries have been given a date from which they can begin to reopen. We haven't got a final date for that just yet in terms of when we will reopen. However, do keep an eye on our social media for further updates on that. We are super excited at being able to get our libraries reopened and get you guys back in the door so that you can pick up your own reads and also just enjoy being in the library environment again. But don't forget, you can also continue to use BorrowBox too, and that is open 24/7 for all our members. So all you have to do is download the app and sign in using your library membership details. If you don't know your library password, you can get that by going to www.culturenl.co.uk/password request, and we will get that password back to you as soon as we possibly can. And it's a great way how to get access to books whenever you want one. There's lots and lots of ebooks and e-audiobooks on there to get a look at. It may be something you've never tried as well, which might also be worth having a look at too. That's all for me for now, guys. If you have enjoyed this episode of the podcast, do feel free to drop us a wee email at librarypodcast@culturenl.co.uk or by using the hashtag FLB podcast on Twitter and giving us a little bit of a comment there too. We'll be back again soon with more podcast episodes, so do keep an eye out for those. But for now, that's all for me. Bye bye, guys.